we started discussing about working with templates. So technically, template, how we can configure and use them. So we will detailedly discuss about that today. So first important, as we already learned. So what is a template? I given an point about that. Let's take a look detailedly today. So templates in object-oriented programming. Generally, so to deal with the templates, that means we have contracts and we need templates. How this entire feature works, we will see that. Actually, to understand the templates also, I given an overview about template, but we can't start with template immediately until or unless we know some important points. What are those? We will see that. That means now, before going into this OOP templates, because actually in order after the contracts, next concept a developer designs is template. So, but in order to design template, you should know some important terms. What are those? I will tell you. Actually, that means now you have to know about class in OOP. I just given you a point about template. We will discuss template after understanding few points. Right. Now, generally, as per your definition, if anyone asks in object-oriented programming, what is a class? Then what will be your answer? What is a class? Then what will be your answer? What is a class in object-oriented programming? How you define a class? What do you say? Class, what do you tell about class? Class, blueprint, okay. Technically, container, fine. Design, okay. User defined types, fine, good, okay. So encapsulate properties and methods, okay, fine, good. Yeah, I'm just reading your messages, what you are sending, right? Fine, good, okay, great. Okay, logical representation, good, right? Right, fine, good. Technically, yes, fine, right. Actually, how you define a class? Actually, in computer programming, as we know in computer programming, yeah. In computer programming, class is a program template. Class is a program template. Technically speaking, it is a program template. So it is a program template. It is a template for program. Class is a template for program. We call actually class is a program template. And important is it provides a set of properties, so and methods. It provides a set of properties and methods. It provides a set of properties and methods to store data, to store data, and to handle manipulation. It provides a set of properties and methods to store data and handle manipulation. Generally, in computer programming, class is technically a program template. Now, class provides a set of properties and methods to store data and handle manipulation. It contains a set of properties and methods to store data and manipulation. Now, generally, you saw that people call class in different ways. Class is used as a model. Class is used as a model to represent the data we are working with. If a class is representing the data we are working with, then it is called as a model. Generally, people say class as a model, but in every situation, class is not a model. I hope everyone understood. In every situation, class is not a model. Hope you are clear. Can you tell me when it is called as a model now? When we should call class as a model? When we should call class as a model? Understood this pointer? When it is representing our data, right? When class is representing data and the data that we are working with. Remember, you should not say entity. That is another point. I will tell you. Actually, class has several behaviors. Technically, class is a template. This class is having several behaviors actually. It is having several behaviors. Suppose we have data. And important is this data is designed according to business requirements. Means according to the business requirements, the data is designed. Now we are creating a class. Some A, that is the class. This class is designed to represent the data we are working with. Then it is called as, in this situation, it is called as model. If it is representing the business instead of the data, then it is called as entity. When it is directly representing the data, then it is called model. When it is representing the business instead of entity, we call instead of data, then we call as entity. The term entity comes in a concept called ORM, object relational mapping. Have you heard about that? ORM? You heard about that? Right. That means here the point is a class can have the behavior. A class can have the behavior of a model. A class can have the behavior of model when it is representing the data directly. A class is referred as an entity when it is representing the business instead of directly the data. And the class is technically, so when we are dealing with the class here technically, So the class, technically, you should know the point that when you call this class as a blueprint, when you call this class as a blueprint now, tell me, when you call this class as a blueprint, in which situation you call as a blueprint? Because many people call class as model and class as entity and class as a blueprint. So the class is called as a blueprint when it is used for creating, when it is used for creating similar type of objects. Understood? When a single class is used for creating similar type of objects, then it is called as a blueprint. Blueprint means, blueprint means it contains all the data required for implementation. Am I right? That means, for example, generally, technically, if you don't know blueprint, means obviously everybody may have awareness of blueprint. Blueprint is nothing but, so generally, suppose we have some Ganesh idol, means there is a wooden frame. In the wooden frame, a Ganesh idol, we have a Ganesh idol engraved, engraved in a wooden frame. Engraved in a wooden frame, Ganesh idol is engraved. Now you take some clay and put that clay. You take some clay and put that clay into this engraved wooden frame, and you take out. Then one Ganesh idol will come. Like that, you can create so many number of Ganesh idols from this. This is blueprint. Understood? Because some people are asking what is blueprint. I hope at least now you understood a blueprint. Right? That means it is a blueprint from where all the objects came. If a class is used, many people call in general as a skeleton, right? They call as a skeleton, right? That means it is just like a prototype, so that from this prototype we can create several types of objects. So it is, class is technically a template, but at different instances it have different names according to the situation where they are using it and how they are using it. They generally name like this, they generally define like this, right? Some people call as a blueprint, some people call as a model, some people call as an entity. Class have the behavior of all this. Class is having the behavior of all this. That means class is used as a model to represent the data. Class is used as an entity, to represent business. Class is used as a blueprint for creating similar type of objects. Is used as a blueprint for creating similar type of objects. So a class have all these behaviors. A class is used as a model, the class is used as an entity, class is used as a blueprint. That means already you remembered, many people call this as a logical entity. Am I right? Logical entity. If you remember this word logical entity, right? I told you about this logical entity in The concept of contract I told you. I hope everyone remember this, right? That means everyone remembered this. Logical entity means we have conceptual model, physical model, logical model. So that means it represents the business. It represents the business. So the business requirements. So that's the reason it is called as a logical entity. So it is a blueprint, it is a model. So class has different behaviors at different instances. So that means every time class is not a model, every time class is not a logical entity, every time class is not used as a blueprint. It depends on the situation. Depends on the situation. So usually class comprises of comprises of a set of members, which includes class comprises of a set of members, which includes actually set of members includes so properties, which includes methods, which includes accessors, which includes constructor. These are the important members in a class. A class comprises of set of members, which includes properties, methods, accessors, constructor. All these are the members of a class. And what is their purpose? And how do we use these members? We will see. And the class is designed by using the keyword class. Actually, we have to know about two important things: class declaration and class expression. That means actually a class can be configured in two ways. A class can be configured in two ways. One is class declaration and class expression. Generally, a class can be configured in two ways: class declaration, class expression. What is difference between these two? I will show you. What is class declaration and class expression? Actually, class declaration, let's see that. What is class declaration and class configuration? Okay, let's create a new folder here, classes. Right. So I am creating a folder inside this. Yeah, inside the OOP. Right. So I'm adding a folder here, classes. Fine. I'm adding a new file. So demo.ts. Okay. Let's keep this in this way. Class and class name. So that means some product, that is the class name and its members. So class name and its members. That means the members are encapsulated. So with this, so this is actually class declaration. This is class declaration. A class have two configurations. One is declaration, another one expression. Class expression is in a class declaration, important in a class declaration. Class declaration. Actually, it comprises of class with a name. Class with a name. Members are encapsulated in flower brace. Members are encapsulated in the flower brace. So you can load the class. You can load the class into memory by using class name. You can load the class into memory by using class name. That is what actually class declaration is. This is declaration. This is declaration. This is class declaration. Class expression is let. Let, some category, or simply like employee. Employee is equal to class. This is class expression. In this class expression, we don't have a name for the class. In this class expression, we don't have a name for the class. So that means employee is not the name of the class. Employee is not the name of the class. It is the name of the memory, so where that class is loaded. So that means here directly the class is loaded into memory. The class is loaded into memory. Now, in order to access the members of this class in the first situation, this is class declaration. We have class expression. We have class expression. In class expression, the class is loaded into memory. Is loaded into memory. And the memory is referred by using this name. The memory is referred by using this name, employee. The memory is referred by using this name. Now don't think that employee is class name. That is the memory for that class. Now, what is the intention here is, if I want to access the members of the class declaration, then I need to create an object for that class. Through that object, I can access its members. Through that object, I can access its members. I need to create a reference for the class in order to access its members. Access its members. But here, directly you have a reference for the class in the memory. You can directly use this employee to access its members. That means now here you can see, suppose how to create members later I will tell you. This is name. It is a string type. So some TV. Later we will discuss about that, right? And here we have a name. It is a string type like John, like this. Now I want to access the members of this employee class. Then I'm using employee dot, so name. So employee is an object. Employee dot name. Here I am configuring that. But usually this name is not a property inside this because we need some access specifiers and modifiers into it. I will tell you them what those are, how to define, because a lot of things are there here. That means this is actually not a class. This is not a class actually. This is not a class. So this is not a class. It is an object. It is simply an object which is of type of employee. It is a type of employee. So how to handle them, we will discuss. We will see that. We will know about it. And product, when we use product here, suppose I say product. This product is a class. Employee is not a class. It is an object which is of type employee. How to deal its members later we will see. Because class members we cannot directly access through the property. I will tell you the methods how we have to do that. That means this is the reference. This is the reference. That means suppose I am creating, so let obj is equal to new, the employee, and through obj I am accessing the name. That is possible. That means directly you cannot access. Now this again you have to load into memory. in order to access its members, and you need to configure. Later, I will tell you all this point. No need to worry about this, right? First, only the concept you need to know is this is a class declaration and this is a class expression. That means class can be defined in two ways. Class declaration, it comprises of a class name, and syntax, usually it will be class and class name and its members you need to configure. We will have a class expression, and it comprises of class. It comprises of class without a name. It is loaded into memory when required. It contains a reference name which you can use to access its members. So technically it contains a reference name which you can use to access its members. So it will not directly have a name, it will have a reference name. That means the syntax will be like this. So let some employee is equal to class, and we have to define the members. We have to configure the members. So here we have to define the members of the class, and here we have to define the members of the class. Now this is the two types of class declarations, class definition. Class have a declaration and class have an expression. Now as a developer, the first important thing for us is when to use these two. What is difference here? When to use class as an expression and when to use class as a declaration. Can you tell me when to use class as an expression? What you can think about it? Your idea. What do you think about it? Class as an expression. When class is used as an expression. Can you tell me that? Any thinkings? I'm asking its use. When it is not having a name, obviously it is called anonymous. That is not the point. Yeah, actually, okay, good. Okay, fine. Actually, yeah, okay. Actually, the point is, technically, what is the point is, when you define class as a declaration, this class is loaded into memory automatically when the library is loaded. When your application library is loaded, the class is loaded into memory. That means even when you are not using the class, it is in the memory. Am I right? I am talking about declaration. Understood my point? This class is loaded into memory. This class is loaded into memory. It is loaded into memory. When we request an application, when its library is loaded, the class is also loaded. Class is loaded. So even you don't use the class, it is in the memory. Am I right? Understood everyone? It is loaded into memory automatically. So when a application is requested by the client, right? Expression will load only when I call this object. Am I right? It will load that class into memory only when I request it. Am I right? You are declaring a variable and we are assigning a class to the variable. We can make this load only when it is needed at that such situation. That means we can restrict the class to load only when it is needed for that situation. So obviously, many people technically, this type of concept is referred as lazy loading. Right? So actually lazy loading is related to object. Right? Just a basic point. That means it is loaded only when it is needed. Right? You can configure it, you can load it only when it is required. Only when it is required. This is actually the situation and the difference between the class expression and a class declaration. Class have two things, a declaration and an expression. Hope everyone is clear. Understood? What is purpose of declaration and what is the purpose of expression? So these are the two important basic things you need to understand every time. So that is declaration and expression, right? Next important, after understanding this, that means first what you learned here is how do we define the class? How do we configure and define the class? This is a simple one. A class declaration and a class expression. Class expression. Actually, while working with the classes, before going into the members, one more important thing we have to know is types of you can say that static and non-static members. Because you are learning about the class, that means you need to now know about so many things about class. First point is what is class declaration and class expression. Okay, that means we know how to declare a class. Next point is how to define member in a class. First, we should know that a class comprises of static and non-static members. Usually class comprises of two types of members, static and non-static members. So what is difference between these two members technically? So if anyone asks what is static and what is non-static, you people have a lot of definitions for them, right? Generally, when we ask what is static and non-static, what is your answer for that? What you will say about static and non-static? Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. Fine. So okay, good. Okay. I'm just reading your answers to understand what you know about it currently, right? Okay. Concept is. Okay. Right. Okay, fine. So let me tell my story now, right? You told your story. Let me tell my story about static and non-static. And let's see whose story is interesting. Okay. Uh, right? Fine. Okay, let me tell my story of what is static and non-static technically. So what is static and non-static? Okay, fine. Let's see. Actually, one basic thing you need to know is I will show you with a constant proof. We will see that. Actually, the term static and the term non-static is actually dynamic. Static and non-static. So which is dynamic, right? Actually, the terms static and non-static, these terms are these terms are related. These terms are related to memory. These terms are related to memory. Actually, these terms are related to memory. These terms are related to memory. Memory. We generally have static memory and a non-static memory. Anywhere in computer programming, the word static and non-static, the word static and dynamic, these are related to memory, static memory and dynamic memory, static and non-static. These are related to memory. Okay, good. These are memory. What is static memory and what is dynamic memory, non-static memory? I will tell you. Suppose we have a class. We have a class, some class A. In this class, we have members. One is a static member, S is equal to 0, and non-static member, N is equal to 0. Okay. So S is a static member and N is a non-static member. We will discuss about this. Means I will show you practically. Don't worry. Now, important is this class. For this class, memory is allocated. Class will classify its memory for its members. For static members, it will allocate static memory. And for non-static members, it will allocate dynamic memory. That means in one memory allocation, we have both static and non-static. We have both static and non-static. Here the point is, that means in the memory allocation, you have both of them. Here the key point is, S is loaded into static memory. N is loaded into non-static memory. Now we are defining some operation for this S and N. S value will be increased by 1 and stored in S. N value will be increased by 1 and stored in N. In dynamic memory and in static memory, both values are incremented by 1. Now, what happens is, we created an object, obj1. We created an object for this class. We created an object for this class, object1. Now this class, this obj1 will use these two, S and N, which are present in that memory. S value is 0 plus 1, it is 1. N value also 0 plus 1, that means N is also 1. After defining the value Yeah. So the first object finished using the memory. The first object finished using the memory. Now, once it finished using the memory, the static memory where s equal to 1, it still remains. It remains. Static memory remains in the memory. It remains and it continues. It continues. It continues for next object. It continues for next object. It continues for next object. The static memory created for first object, it will continue for other objects. That means now I am creating another object, obj2. Obj2. This object also belongs to the same class. Now it goes to, obj2 goes to static memory. It is continuing from the previous memory. Then plus 1, then s will be how much? It will be 2. But the dynamic memory, after the object finished using n value, the dynamic memory, this is not continuous memory. This memory is called as, it is not a continuous memory. This memory is called as discrete memory. It is called as discrete memory. It is not a continuous memory. Discrete memory means after object finished using it, it will destroy, or you can simply say it will reset. It will reset. That means again n value is 0 only. N value is 0. That means now for the second object, the n value will be how much? For the second object, n value is again 0 plus 1. That means n is always 1. That means static is continuous memory. Non-static is discrete memory. Means the memory allocated for one object will continue for others. Now dynamic will be allocated again and again. Means every time new memory is newly allocated. For every object that memory is new. Remember, class is only one, but the memory used by that class is different. For two types of members, for static members, it will use static memory. For non-static members, it will use non-static memory. I will show you an example. Don't worry what I am writing, just observe. Class demo. Because later you will understand the code. In that we have static s is equal to 0 and n is equal to 0. We have a constructor. This constructor defines demo.s is equal to demo.s plus 1. Static members are accessed by using the class name, and non-static members are accessed by using this dot n is equal to this dot n plus 1, incremented by 1. And we are printing the details. So we are printing the details. We have a print method. This print method is printing the details. So console.log, it is printing the details. Here I defined some n is equal to, so s is equal to $s demo.s. Okay, static members are accessed by using the class name. Those points I will tell you later. N is equal to $. So we will call this dot n. We are printing s and n value. Now let's create an object here. Let obj1 is equal to new demo class. obj1 dot print. We are calling the print method for this. Okay, let's compile and run this. and we will see what it is actually returning. For object 1, what is the memory of n and s? So tsc demo.ts and node demo.js, and you can see here s is 1 and n is 1. Okay, I will take this. I will take this. So second, I will take this here. I will take this to second object. I will create another object, let obj2 is equal to new demo. obj2 dot print. Okay. let obj3 is equal to new demo, and obj3 dot print. Three different objects, but belongs to the same class, and they are trying to use one static memory and another non-static memory. And you can compile this and run this now. You can compile this and run this now. And when you run this, you can see the static memory is continuing and the non-static is reset every time. I hope you understood. Understood? Understood? That means now technically what is static and what is non-static? What you understood? Technically what is static and what is non-static? What is static and what is non-static? What you understood by this? Static is continuous memory and non-static is discrete memory. Am I right? In simple terms, static is continuous and non-static, no, you should not change it. No change. Forget about those points, right? And my story is not only good, my story is correct about static and non-static. Your stories that you know earlier, they are not good. Okay. That means static is all about memory. Non-static is all about memory. Whatever you know about static and non-static, they are the behaviors of static and non-static members. Means how they behave. Some people say static members are accessed by using class names, sir. Static members are loaded at the time of loading the class, sir. I am not asking when they will load, what they behave. I'm asking what they are actually. I hope you understood my question and your answers, how they are in contrast. Right? Your answers about static is about its behavior, means how the static member behaves. But our intention is to understand what exactly static is first. Understood? That means static is continuous memory and non-static is discrete memory. Discrete memory. Now the point is, a software developer should exactly know when to use static and non-static members. That is a question. So when we ask like, okay, tell me one situation when to use static and when to use non-static. In this situation, what happened? I hope everyone saw that. So S value, that means this memory is continuing for other objects. And this is not a continuous memory. It is allocated again for another object. For every object, the memory is allocated newly. And every time n value is 0. But static memory is continuing. Now the question is when to use this static and when to use non-static. Means the situations, the different real world situations, right? Let's see one simple example. I will tell you when we can define static and non-static. What is the situation? I will tell you. For example, we have database. We have a database. Now we have an application. We have an application. Now, in this application, we need to perform various operations like operations on the data, like insert, like update, like delete, update, like delete like operations we need to define. That means we need to handle this. We need to handle this. That means insert, update, delete. But before insert, before update, before delete, I need to first connect with the database. Connect with the database. Now the connection with the database, the connection with the database. So that means we are defining the connection with the database. Now important, the connection with the database, we can maintain two types of connections. One, static connection. Connection can be static. If connection is static, I click insert, then what will happen? First it will connect. After connection happened, it will insert. Okay. After inserting, as connection is static, the connection still remains open. That means connection is still remaining open after insert also. Then you click update. This update will happen on the same connection. Understood? We click delete. Delete will happen on the same connection. That means we don't need to connect every time. Am I right? Understood, everyone? Understood, everyone? Got clarity on that? That means now what is problem in static connection? What is problem in static connection? What is problem in this static connection? What is problem in this static connection? Okay, good. Security issues will come because connection still remains open. Another, it occupies more memory. Am I right? It occupies more memory because it is in the memory, but you are not using. That is the reason why many times if anybody asked in interview, like, so we ask in interview like, tell me difference about static and non-static. Many times people tell static occupies more memory. Am I right? Many people tell that static occupies more memory. Right? Why it occupies more memory? Because it still remains in the memory even if it is not in use. Understood? Obviously, then it has to occupy more memory. It has to occupy more memory. Right? That is what actually the point here. So that is static. Now, what is non-static? If the connection, right, connection pooling, leakages, so many will happen, right? So many issues will come. But if I need a continuous operation one after another, then static is good. Am I right? Right? That means when we need a continuous operations to happen, then static is good. Static is good. So here the point is, when we use, yes, of course, we have data readers and all these, right? Generally, what is non-static? If connection is non-static, then what happens is you click insert. When you click insert, it will connect with the database. After that, it will insert. After inserting, it will close the connection. The connection is closed, disposed. If I want update, again I need to connect. That means again I need to open and connect and update. And after update, again close. Understood? Because the memory is not continuous. It is discrete memory. That means for every object, the memory is newly allocated. It is not continuous memory. Now, what do you think? It is little bit safer than static, and it uses less memory. Am I right? But performing continuous operations will be an issue. What do you say? Am I right? Performing continuous operations will be an issue because it is using a discrete technique. It is using a discrete technique. Right? We cannot perform continuous operations. That means every time we need to connect and interact and handle. Right? That is what actually the difference between static and non-static. So, what is a reactive approach, Mr. Anil? What do you mean by reactive approach? What is a reactive approach? But our concept is not that reactive programming. I'm not asking about any alternative for this. Na? I'm asking what is problem with dynamic. What do you say? You are telling a solution for dynamic problem. Understood? Our intention is not to find a solution for this, to understand what problem with it first. Right? Solution for every problem, there is a solution to handle. Even static issues also we can handle. Problems can be solved by various implementations. That is not the point. Our point is what is problem in static and what is problem in non-static. So technically, what is difference between static and non-static? So static uses continuous memory. Static uses continuous memory. Static uses continuous memory. That is the first important point. And static memory. So I will keep in a separate heading. Like, okay, first static. First point, it uses memory, continuous memory. Second, memory allocated for first object will continue for other objects. Allocated for first object will continue for other objects. So it occupies more memory. So security issues. Several security issues will come. But good for continuous operations. But good for continuous operations. That is what actually is static. And non-static. So technically, non-static uses a discrete memory. Non-static uses a discrete memory. So memory is newly allocated for every object. So it disposes the memory after using. So cannot handle continuous operations. continuous operations, cannot handle continuous operations. So, but uses less memory, memory. That is how actually the concept of static and non-static. So if anytime in interview, if anyone asks about static and non-static, better to tell about two technical terms: continuous memory, discrete memory. That is enough at high level. If they want you to explain, then you have to explain these points about the static and non-static. So how we can configure in static and non-static. TypeScript static members in a class are defined by using static keyword. They are defined by using static keyword, and they are accessed by using class name or by using class name. TypeScript non-static members are the members without static marking, and they are accessed within the class by using this keyword, and outside the class by using an instance of class. That is what actually the TypeScript related options, right? Technically, how we can manage that? That is static and non-static. So what is static and what is non-static? This is the basic point. Just to make you understand, I given this example, but this you will later see how to use, because we have to learn about constructors and all. This is a general example I given you to just understand how this works, how S is used, how N is used. So how it is going to print the output for this. That's the basic thing we discussed here. So, but later we are going to understand this example now. Technically, static members and non-static members. That is the first thing you need to understand. So class declaration and expression and types of members, static members and non-static members. Now we need to understand another important point here is about access modifiers for members. That means how we can define access modifier for members: public, private, protected, how we can restrict the accessibility of members. Then we can learn about members, constructor, what is accessor, what is property, all these details we will discuss. That we will continue in tomorrow's session. Hope you are clear with this. Today we learned only two things. What is how classes are declared. Second, why the classes are called model, entity and all. And third is what is static and non-static, right? Tomorrow we will continue with this, right? Thank you.